Okay. Well, thank you very much, Drew. My name is Josh Ossing. I am the producer of community partnerships for State of Mind. And I'll turn it over to Michael to introduce himself and talk a little bit about the project.
Thank you, Josh. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Rode, and I'm the project director for State of Mind. I'm also the director of the CoLab for Civic Imagination, which is a unit over at the University of Montana in Missoula. I'm a theater maker and an educator and a facilitator, and this is a project that we've been working on for the past couple years. And time is a strange thing because after a couple years, suddenly here we are in our final rehearsal push, and we launched the tour on September 19th, coming up very soon. So we're really grateful. I came in like a year and a half ago to this group at Chelsea's invitation and talked about the origin of this project, and am delighted and slightly flabbergasted that here we are a year and a half later, and we get to talk about its imminent beginning. So Josh is going to share a presentation as we talk, and we're going to try to kind of move through this rather quickly so there can be time for conversation. But basically, as it says on that slide right there, State of Mind is a theater and public dialogue tour that's going to be moving around the state of Montana starting in mid-September all the way through June. Our plan is to be in 25 to 30 Montana communities. And we'll talk today about the project itself, the show, the accompanying workshops. We'll show a map, the places that we've begun to schedule visits to. I mean, our reason for being here is because for the last couple of years, we've been building a network of partners and collaborators and advisors around the state. We are always looking to expand that circle, and we are looking to expand the sites that we get to take the project to, meaning we hope perhaps today interest you in considering helping us bring the show to your community. It's important to say right up front, it is a no-cost project to communities. So we are going out with this resource with all its different parts at no charge to the places that we go. We continue to fundraise, but so far we have raised the funds for the first half of the tour, which is wonderful, and we just continue to raise to get through the second half. But indeed, as you see there, the project aims at community listening, tackling stigmas, sharing resources, and exploring strategies. And you see our sort of little graphic there as we've been kind of trying to figure out the best ways to explain this project, both to partners who are deeply involved in the behavioral health landscape and folks who maybe aren't as much, but might consider engaging with us. That's our sort of our pitch. What can help Montanans tackle the mental health crisis, the behavioral health crisis in our state, making it okay to talk about mental health in Montana. And that's one of the prime aims of what we're doing here. Josh, do you want to show me the next slide? And you can feel free to stage manage me a bit, Josh, when it's sort of time to kind of bounce back and forth. But I think I go a little bit here on the goals. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll talk a little bit more about sort of the art space, the theater-based aspect of this. But the whole project is really very purposeful and aimed on moving towards these goals, making local behavioral health resources more visible, strengthening local networks of advocates, providers, educators, and leaders, tackling stigmas around seeking mental and behavioral health support, activating youth voices in the identification of local needs and visions, exploring and normalizing care strategies for friends, family, and neighbors, and listening. And then bringing local perspectives, what we learn in here on the road, into the statewide conversations that we are a part of and have access to at the legislative, funding, advocacy, policy, and educational kind of levels. And I think one thing I should say up front is, yes, these are some of our collaborators. We have a collaborator list and an advisor list, and these lists keep growing. We can't really keep up with the slides. But here's a bunch of folks who are collaborating with us on the project, everything from university units and colleges at to foundations, to health centers, to Parks and Rec, to local governments and clinics, statewide networks. And then do we also have the advisor list on here? I don't remember.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, advisors. So the difference, collaborators have really committed to being engaged in the project and its work around the state, and advisors are folks that we reach out to often and stay in conversation with the project about. I actually think some of these can probably be moved onto the collaborator list at this point. Conrad Public Schools, certainly collaborators now, because that's actually our first stop after Missoula. We go from Missoula a week later to Conrad, 10 days later to Great Falls, a little later to Glasgow, and so on and so on. You'll see a map. But here's some folks who sort of continue to advise us. Back on the collaborator page, you might have noticed Meadowlark Counseling and Neurofeedback. That's a really counseling collective. That's a really important partner. When we go on the road, it's 3 actor facilitators, an education specialist, and a licensed clinical social worker. So we have a counselor/social worker in every single workshop and performance we do, both as a resource for the project and what happens, but they're also helping us kind of build the project. And they're actually offering telehealth services everywhere we go around the state. They're leaving their information as an additional resource in those communities. And they have a provider who takes Medicare, and they're also dedicating a pre-licensure candidate who will be doing pro bono telehealth work in a supervised way for the entire year for any resident from any of the communities we visit. So we're hoping also to be increasing in small ways the, of course, large need for service providing around the state. So that's the project, really focusing on performance as a catalyst for dialogue and connection and communication and tackling stigmas. But I'm gonna, I think, pass on to Josh for the next step. Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk about, we'll get back to those maps in a sec. So what a tour looks like when we visit these communities. As Michael was saying, that performance is the foundation for starting all of these conversations. We'll go to a community, and the day starts with a couple of workshops. First workshop is going to be with students at the local high school. That takes place during the school day, using theater and arts-based techniques to create these conversations around what communities of care look like to these students. And I'll let Michael talk a bit more about that in a second. Then we have a teacher workshop, or a workshop for adults that includes teachers and health workers in that community. And then that evening, there is a performance. And I'll let Michael talk now about how these workshops, the youth and the adults, sort of integrate with the performance, and how this all comes together as a whole, as a piece for the project.
Thanks, Josh. So the performance itself is a mixture of things that would seem familiar to you from a play. There's some monologues, there's some scenes, there's a dance number, there's a musical number, there's some presentational sections, but the show is literally divided between these performative moments and kind of conversations that the actors host with the audience. And in addition to that, actually sort of in a sneaky way, kind of working on some skills around our own individual self-care and how we interact with and support others in our lives. So it's a combo performance and workshop and almost community visioning session masquerading as a straight theater piece. And it's fun. It's kind of a playful experience, even though, of course, the content frequently doesn't feel playful, but there is joy in the event very purposefully, even in the structure of it. And this begins with the youth workshop in the morning, which is 90 minutes to 2 hours with 15 to 40 local high school students who've opted in. It's not like a class takes it in a mandatory way. The school works with us and their student body to find a group of students who want to do this. And the workshop is called a care commitment workshop. And basically, they're using theater activities to get to, by the end of that workshop, a document or a contract or a constitution that says, for us, the young people in this community, to feel safe, supported, and healthy, we need the following conditions to exist. And then it's about 10 statements along the lines of, we need to see blank, we need to believe blank, we need to feel blank, we need our leaders to blank, we need adults in our community to blank. And basically by the end of the work, they have filled that out. And then if you look at that slide, it says a teacher health worker workshop that happens in the afternoon, as Josh said. So that workshop starts with the document that the youth created in the morning. So the youth are creating the curriculum that the adults will then work off of. And that afternoon session with those adults is looking at, what do youth say they need in this place? How does that match up with what we currently have as assets, as offerings? Where are there distances between what they need and what we're able to offer? How do we work on that together? And that's what that workshop is about. And then in the evening, the show, which is basically about 18 tracks. Think about a record album. It's kind of, the show is like a set of tracks. One of the tracks is the document that the young people wrote earlier in the day. So that actually gets read aloud for the audience. So those youth voices, they have an experience, then their experience sets the tone for the adult workshop experience. And then again, that youth text actually inserts itself and becomes a central part of the evening performance for a general public. So that's sort of how the day works and how youth voices move through it and are centered.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go back to here, our map of Montana, to talk a little bit about the partnerships that and that we're developing around the state. And as we continue to develop partnerships and locations to bring this program to, what we're looking for and how we engage with our partners. So on this map, you can see there's just a wide variety of different kinds of partners and people that we've engaged with all over the state. So these are, every little dot and colored different dot here just indicates where we've had conversations with people, where people have begun to engage with us and express interest about this. When logistically speaking, when we head out onto a tour, we're really looking for two primary partners, somebody we call like a community partner, and another person, an education partner. And sometimes it's more than just two people, but the community partners we engage with, they're usually somebody who's related or integrated into the health field, somebody who is really inspired about the project and wants to engage their colleagues and their community in the performance aspect of it, as well as bringing in some adults into that adult workshop. They also help us find the appropriate community space and venue for the performance. And then our education partners are doing exactly what you probably think they'd be doing. They're helping us organize the workshop there at the school. We've found some of our most supportive partners are oftentimes a principal of a school or a counselor at the school, and they help get the school staff and faculty on board and lead the process in identifying students who may want to participate in the workshop. So then this is, as you can see, we've been having conversations all over the state, and this map here with the stars, this indicates communities that have expressed direct interest in us visiting their community, bringing a tour to their community. It might be a little hard to see. The ones that have a little green in the middle of it, those indicate places that are actually booked on the calendar. And everywhere else that you see, we're organizing and working with them to identify the best time for us to come and visit, still trying to build out the right coalition in order to really confirm that performance in their community. And it's worth noting that the eastern part of our state is a really important part of our state to us, of course, and we're as we speak, we're working with different organizations in the eastern part of the state to really try to build out the tours there, and we welcome, as you can see, it is it's a sparser part of our state population wise, and then also just in terms of like where we're engaging. There's a lot of good conversations starting, but we have a lot more work to do in engaging deeper, and getting folks on board in the schools, as well as in other community groups. So we're always really open to, if folks have relationships in our Eastern Montana counties and communities. We are so open to conversations, and we welcome suggestions and introductions.
We're going to be in Glasgow in October, and one of the things we're going to be doing is inviting contacts we've been making around the eastern part of the state to come to the performance when we're there, because we are planning to spend time between now and the spring building out a 3 to 4 week tour of eastern Montana in April, May. So again, it's a great time to connect with us about those regions, as well as any regions in the state, as we're pulling people into those conversations. We have a feeling that as we get going, more and more bookings are going to happen, again, at no cost to communities, and we will probably fairly swiftly be filling up the dates. So we're trying to make sure that communities know, and if they have interest, can engage with us now, and we can get them on the calendar.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next slide. We've talked about that. We talked about this. Yeah, I think we move quickly to conversation, which can be just sort of talking more about any aspect of the project, or just hearing how in your community and with your work, you're sort of thinking about the conversations that are happening in your place, in your region, or the conversations you wish were happening more, because that's what we're trying to do, is be an activity that acts as a coalition builder and a sort of catalyst for conversations in the behavioral health landscape that don't necessarily happen as frequently as a lot of folks would like them to. So I know cameras are off and you're probably doing other things, and you're probably even eating lunch, but you are welcome to eat on camera. And you are welcome to join us vocally with or without camera. So anything sort of on your mind, or anything you'd like to hear us talk more about?
I was thinking that my camera was on because I was eating lunch.
Hi, Martin.
But I'm actively listening, so thank you. And I actually was able to be a part of your when you were presenting at the Montana Healthcare Foundation, so in Bozeman. So
Bozeman.
yeah.
That's awesome. I think now I feel like I remember seeing you there. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing you, but I was
Yeah.
one of many, so.
That's great. I mean, thank you for putting your camera on, and thank you for remembering that. Do you, where are you? Can I ask, like, where you're based?
I'm in Browning.
Okay. And as we talk about this project, does it seem like something that could be useful, of service there?
And I'm thinking now about how I can share your information with maybe the Browning Public School administration or school board, or I'm not sure exactly which entity that I would need to make sure that what you're doing is on their radar, and potentially something for our community as well too. So what we just came from I just came from council chambers, tribal council chambers, and there was a meet and greet. We recently had elections for tribal council, and our new tribal council members have been in office for about 6 weeks. So we had a meet and greet and provided overview of tribal health programs to our new members, our new council members. And our biggest, one of the biggest needs that we have in our community is providers. So
we are super aware that the scarcity of providers around the state is a primary need, and that the one way we sort of talk about that is we say, one, obviously we're not delivering providers, but what we are doing in some spaces is helping folks see the routes to credentialing and training, so that local folks have more access to becoming providers through the community health worker training that comes out of as well as other things. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because it makes me wonder how in certain places we could work with partners on the ground to really focus on that layer, how to help folks see that local capacity could be built, you know?
right. And I was looking at your map that you were presenting just a little earlier, and some of the potential partners that are within the community. And then I'm trying to think now, even within a community that is, you know, rural and not so large, I'm wondering which of our travel programs that we have community health workers in. So now I'm curious, you know.
Yeah. And Josh, do you want to mention, aren't we going to be meeting with a group of tribal youth in a little while?
Yeah, we've been invited to come and visit with the youth who are involved in the RISE program, and this is through the Office of Public Instruction. And this is, and forgive me, I don't. RISE stands for, it's an acronym, and forgive me, I don't recall what that is off the top of my head. But this is a group of youth who started meeting during COVID as a way to engage with tribal youth from all over the state during that isolating time. But from there, it really grew out. It grew up and grew out into something much bigger. They have a gathering every year where they gather, they celebrate, and you know, they sort of. It's really cool because it's like whatever the youth decide that they want to focus on, that particular year is what they then focus on. So we're really looking forward to visiting with them. The like adult leader of the program thinks that it's an interesting opportunity, and that that you know, the youth might be excited to learn more about it and to potentially engage with them in their communities.
Awesome. I might look up what the acronym for RISE is.
You know, I can look it up right now while I'm not. I mean,
I'm about to put it in the chat, I think, Josh. So if that helps you out.
Thank you, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
Now we're all staring at the chat.
I know.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. Oh, and Margaret, I put a flyer in there in case that was something handy for you to.
Yeah, I just downloaded it.
That's great. Youth and community leadership. There it is.
Yeah.
While we're looking at that, in addition to Margaret, Jen, Marie, and Robin, any thoughts on your mind, or questions, or things about where you are in relation to this kind of work? Hi, Jen.
Hi. Yeah, no, I don't have any. I just wanted to learn more about the project. So this has been a really great orientation to it. It seems like a great idea. I definitely am kind of just thinking about how our students, I'm in the School of Social Work, and I don't know if there are ways that they continue the conversations, or kind of what that, if there's some way for them, yeah, to kind of wrap around this project in different ways, but nothing.
Jen, I would love that. I appreciate that you attended. I think we met once in that context, but I've mostly been talking to Ashley and Amanda about the project. Any School of Social Work students who want to come into rehearsal are super welcome. I'd be happy to come into any classes and talk about this project and also learn from them about their experiences. So I'd love to connect more around bringing them into the project.
Great. I'll kind of keep it in mind and see what might be appropriate. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Hi, I just joined the meeting. I had some volunteer work that went over the time that I needed to be here. I really was intrigued by the title, and I can't wait to listen to the recorded version. So I really can't say anything.
That's okay. Thanks for being here. Thank you. And thanks for volunteering. That's pretty awesome and important. Yeah. Yes, Marie. Gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm getting trapped on Mary or Marie. Marie?
Mari, I believe.
Mari, I think I do remember us indeed talking. You're asking in the chat about the fundraising. I'm happy to mention that it's a Mari, yeah. It's a short conversation. I mean, for the past 2 years, I've been writing grants. I've been meeting with folks. I've been trying to find donors. We've been turned down a lot because there's not a lot of arts money in Montana. there is some health money, but there's not a lot of health folks who see the arts as legitimate intervention and approach. But of course, nationally, there is a lot of work that supports that. So I've been sort of sharing that work and advocating for that. One of the grants for this project is from Headwaters Foundation. One of the grants is from the Arthur Blank Foundation. And a little bit of money that I'm using from a contract the CoLab for Civic Imagination has with the city of Missoula for public engagement work we've been helping them with. I'm just diverting that money towards this project. So that's how we've come up with probably 65% of the budget. And I'm trying to raise the last 40% of the budget. But we have enough that's gotten us through hiring the producer for community partnership, the really meaningful work Josh has been doing for a while, the development work, the rehearsal, and then the tour. And we've got enough for the tour's first 10 to 12 sites. And I've got to raise enough to sort of get that second half, that back half. So that's the very candid answer to where we are with the funding. State of Mind is not a nonprofit. CoLab for Civic Imagination is a unit at the University of Montana. So for grants, it applies through the university, which does have nonprofit status. Of course, yeah. Do you all have any advice for us as we continue to sort of build the networks of providers, of schools, of advocates, of community leaders? We're partnered with the Behavioral Health Alliance of Montana, with NAMI, with the School Administrators of Montana, and others. And we're always looking for more networks to sort of plug into, to find ways to let folks in different communities know about the project and the opportunity. And just for us to keep learning. I've done tons of interviews over the past year and a half, over Zoom mostly, with providers and practitioners and advocates around the state, and that's informed some of the content of the piece. So it's just great for us to meet people doing the work.
Have you networked with Rocky Mountain tribal leaders?
I think that we have done reach outs to Rocky Mountain tribal leaders, and you know far better than I how the pace of that relationship building is, of course, inappropriately slow. So it's been a couple years of introductions with different tribal communities and leaders, trying to get on agendas for tribal meetings, offering to do presentations, seeking invitations, and just continuing to work on that.
I think if you guys can secure one of our tribal communities and to demonstrate the good work that you're doing, I think that will kind of the rest will, appreciate that, and then it can spread.
Agreed, and very grateful for any introductions you feel you have the time or inclination to offer.
I'd be happy to. It's a big deal in my community, and I've downloaded your flyer, and I can speak to the new superintendent here at Browning Public Schools, as well as maybe the HES committee chairman and tribal health. So
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. In the download, is there like contact information? I
Yep.
didn't notice.
There is.
Okay.
There is. Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to doing that.
And I'll
Thank you.
pop my email in the chat as well. It's on that flyer, but
Okay. I appreciate that.
We know that this was scheduled for an hour, but we want to be very respectful of everyone's time. I can talk for days about this project and fill every minute with details and things, but really we're here to share with you that much what we've shared and have a conversation, but we also can be at a fine stopping point as well. We're really grateful for the time.
Yeah.
What do you
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, what do you think, Margaret? What's on
Oh, I
your
was just gonna say, I appreciate the download. I didn't secure anything when I saw you in Bozeman, so, and your email, Josh, thank you. And I think this is important, so thanks for, carving out some time for us.
Thank you. I should say, because we're trying to get better at this, Facebook, we have a page, State of
Okay.
Mind on Facebook, because we've been told by communities all over the state that is the most connective social media source for a lot of our smaller communities around Montana. So if you want to jump on there, follow us, share it. We're trying to do some good posting and info sharing, and we hope to get communities posting about the tour in a little while as well.
Oh, good.
But we're really grateful for your time today. And Jen, I'd love to talk to you more about how this connects to our social work program and students. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
And yep, Michael and Josh, kind of before we wrap up, and I do want to make sure everybody has time to answer questions. Again, this is being recorded. So if there's anything that you want shared with the recording, just let Chelsea and I know, and we can kind of send it out from there. I have a little bit of a, not necessarily a question, but thought is, with especially, kind of piggybacking off of some of the stuff that Margaret Ann was talking about, our indigenous communities, humor and everything is very important. And have you tried, or are going to try, maybe engaging with some indigenous folks to maybe help on reservation in your performances?
Well, 2 of our actor facilitators are indigenous artists / performer facilitators. So
Awesome.
we have 5 performers. When the show goes out, it will be 3 at a time. They'll rotate. And certainly anytime we go to a tribal community or to a place that has heavy tribal population, one of those 2 will be in that rotation. And they're also involved in the creation of the piece. As a matter of fact, yesterday we were working on a movement sequence in the show, and people were creating some movement. And Mac, one of the performers, who's an enrolled member of the Blackfeet tribe, he was bringing, unbeknownst to me, he was actually bringing very specific sort of cultural movements into what he was offering and making. And then we got to have a really lovely conversation about that and how it related to stuff other people were offering that were not from that community. Also, the humor that he's been bringing into certain sections, which is really specific. So I think that presence is a part of what we're sharing, but I've also been trying to engage 2 particular indigenous writers to co-write a certain section with me. And honestly, we've had a lot of trouble with schedules because folks are very busy. But right now, those 2 performers in the room are where that's living a lot.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, comment. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Michael and Josh, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us, and sharing for those that weren't able to make it, that'll view this on the recording. And such important work, and very unique approach and unique work too. So thank you.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks everyone for being here, and thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Yeah. We'll see. I hope everybody has a really good day. Be careful if you're in the western part of the state, all that concert driving, watch out around here. It's crazy driving. So.
Yeah. And we've got winter storm or some snow warnings for above 5,000 feet. So.
Oh God.
I heard that. Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you again.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh. Bye, everyone.